all art knows, from the time you were a child, by the way, you were already playing this game when you drew something and you wanted to go in and show it to an adult in your life. Look, look, look. The artist loves the creation, but loves the sharing of the creation. Let's write that down in 2A. That's another important insight here. The sharing of our art, the interaction, it's what makes us human, that interaction. It's that moment of contact when the artist and the audience, the observer, the hearer, the listener, the participant, somehow engages. And there's a moment that can't be described other than laughter, joy, right? Intense joy. We finish, of course, with Orpheus being gone at dawn, not to return. We've waited, he does not return. It said he made his earth journey and lost what he sought. What an interesting concept. Sooner or later, the artist has to leave. Leaving behind, of course, what Yeats will call, write this down in 3A, in a famous poem called Sailing to Byzantium. We'll study it together in our senior year. What Yeats will call monuments of unaging intellect. Monuments of unaging. The stuff that lasts after the artist. See, it's an interesting question. We'll ask it when we study Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn in your senior year. Which is more important, the artist or the art? The artist has to create the art, no doubt, but then the artist dies. And many years later, the art still remains. Isn't that fascinating? This symbiotic nature. But I find the key line for this poem is on page 663. It said, line 150, Orpheus's head still sang and was swept out to sea, singing, perhaps he will not return, but what we have lived comes back to us. Look at that line. What we have lived comes back to us. We see more. I hope this is the case after your sophomore year. We see more. We feel as our rings increase. That's called growth. As a tree grows, the rings grow. In your sophomore year, you ought to be bigger. Your rings ought to grow more than they were in your freshman year. I've sometimes challenged my seniors, what were you doing for 4 years? Were you growing or were you not growing? How is it possible you weren't growing with all of the things in this world that can help you grow? We feel, as our rings increase, something that lifts our branches, that, and this is what great art does, right? Stretches our furthest leaf tips further. The wind, the birds do not sound poorer, but clearer. When you're a senior, you'll study with me the great poet Percy Bysshe Shelley. And he said in a famous essay called Defense of Poetry that the greatest artists are the ones that make you see the thing you've always seen differently. Experience the thing you've always experienced, namely life, differently. And it somehow affects you in some way, and you're not the same afterwards. Of course, at 2A, let's finish now. At 2A, this is a poem about poetry. This is a poem about art. This is a poem about singing. This is a poem about the power of art to change us, to evolve us, to make us somehow better. At 2B, we've mentioned already a number. The structure of this poem, the genius of the similes, the power of a talking tree, and all of a sudden the reader begins to identify with the tree in this way. We are stuck, rooted, and then art has a tendency to somehow lift us, move us somewhere else, and give us new roots. And then we'll stay there for a while, and then we'll wait for the next moment when something moves us. Wouldn't it be a great way to start your day every morning to just say this? Before the end of the day, I just have to be moved a little bit. I got to grow. Because the moment I stop growing, they have a word for that. It's called death. I got to grow. I got to keep growing. And art is, of course, the way, the stories are the way that it happens for us. All right, we mentioned so many titles already at 3A, but I'll jot down one for you. What is your text of all texts about art? About the power of art, the power of music. I have students, by the way, that would not play video games if they couldn't hear the music. I had a student once, his mom said, you have to turn it down, and then, I can't have it on because something's going on in the house. And then his headphones went out. So he decided, I'll just play the game anyway. I'll play it in silence. And he admitted the next day, couldn't play the game without the music. I need the music. Why? Why do you need the music? Because there's something invigorating about that music to me. What is that text for you that most moves you? Let's jump to 3B. What is that work of art that most moves you? Yeah, right, we play this game of, if you were alone, stuck on a desert island, and you could only have one work of art with you, what would it be? Or if you only had a few seconds left to live, let's say you had 3 minutes left to live and you could only listen to one song. What would that one song be and why? You got 3 minutes. You got one song. What would that song be and why? Why would you choose that song? And I wonder in 20 years if the song title you write down now is the same song title you'll write down in 20 or 30 years. Or will you have found new music? Right? It's not that it's wrong as sophomores to still listen to the music you were listening to when you were in 8th grade. But this poem suggests you need to listen to more music. You need to grow. You need to expand. Don't ever get in your pal's car again and say, turn that off, I hate that music. No, no, no. Experiencing and appreciating works of art is foundational to rippling, as the poem says. Rippling, right? The ripple effect. Movement. The beauty of that. Finally, let's ask it, because all of us in our own way are artists of a kind. When was the last time you were engaged in creating something that moved somebody? And what kind of adrenaline rush was that? Blew your mind, maybe, to think, how amazing is it that I can create something that moves people, that somehow picks them up out of the ground and takes them somewhere else? Well, I hope that you've enjoyed Levertov. I hope that maybe you'll go and look at more of her poetry. She is an amazing writer. Thank you.